Greetings all, this is Nick from Those Hairy Gamers, here to read some of your comments that we've been getting on the channel. The channel's growing quite a lot, and we're getting a lot of interaction on the videos, which is exactly what I wanted. And I just wanted to highlight some of those because they're actually relevant to the topics that we're discussing in the videos. Justin, how you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Yourself?
I'm doing very well. Could you please read me the comments we have? We have a few comments regarding to Star Wars Legion.
Yes. This is from Joshua Nicholson, and he says, as long as I can eventually build a Mandalorian army.
Yep, agree with that. We have Rebels and Imperials right now. We don't know if they're going to put a Scum faction in. This is still very early days, but I also would love to build a Mandalorian army. That's a very good idea, man. I'm also thinking that.
KJK says this feels too much like Imperial Assault. FFG should create something that deviates from any of their current game lines. Now,
this is a concern that's come up from a few people when they're talking about Imperial Assault, because it's a tabletop game that uses minis of the figures. I don't think there's too much overlap with this. I don't know how you feel about this, Justin, but Imperial Assault is a dungeon crawler, and Legion is going to be a tactical squad-based game. To me, they feel different enough. What do you think?
Dungeon crawlers, in and of themselves, are completely different to squad-based games. A dungeon crawler, you're using one character normally to...
Or like a few. But still, yeah.
To finish a pre-described thing.
Mm-hmm.
A squad-based game is, you look at your Warhammers and things like that, they're nothing like a dungeon crawler at all. So,
yeah,
I can see that people want to have their armies all in the same height and things like that. It would make it easier for them, but in the end, this is a business and they're here to make money, unfortunately.
That's right. And I do feel like, because this is also another thing that's come up, why are the scales different? At the end of the day, every game has to work internally as best as it can. Now, Imperial Assault's done in the 28mm scale, which is very common amongst a lot of war games. And Legion is done in the 35mm scale, I believe, which is a bit taller. And of course, that means there's a scale mismatch, and it makes it almost impossible to sort of cross over the models. But I trust Fantasy Flight to get this right. I feel like if they've chosen to make it bigger, it's not a cash grab. It's to make it reflective of what's best for that game. That's what I feel. I might be wrong. They might just be trying to get our money, but I don't think that's the case. I think they've made sure the games work internally. Yeah, it sucks that the games can't cross over, but at the end of the day, that should be a secondary focus. To be honest, guys, I know what this comes down to. This comes down to not wanting to spend a whole heap more money on another game. People want to go, oh, I've got all these models already. I've given you all this money. Why can't I put it in this new game? Why do I have to spend more money? Because, guys, it's a new game. It's not the same game. That's just the reality, unfortunately.
So, Nate Springer, this is a question regarding... Well, it's not actually a question, but it's regarding Magic the Gathering. Yes. And he says, man, you deserve more likes.
Thanks for that, Nate. That's really awesome. We don't have all that much interaction with our Magic videos just yet, and look, if any of you guys are into Magic the Gathering, comment on our videos, show your friends. We really want to build up the Magic crowd on this channel as well. Obviously, we are primarily an X-Wing channel right now, which is fine. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But at the end of the day, we want to cover a few different topics, and hopefully we can get a lot of interaction on X-Wing, a lot of interaction on Magic, and a lot of interaction on whatever else we decide to cover. So thanks for that, man. Really appreciate it.
So this is regarding when the Harpoon missile was revealed in X-Wing, and it comes from Ben Wilson. He says, if you kill a ship with the Harpoon missile condition card with a crit, wouldn't you discard the card due to the first ability before you deal the second lot of damage to the other ships? I think the second one is just there to make sure it fires at some point if you drop the ship before you hit a crit.
Thank you so much for this comment, Ben. I think you're right. I think I actually made a mistake on this. I think you're exactly right. I was saying that both parts of the text could trigger together, and all ships at range 1 could suffer 2 damage rather than 1. I think the intended way this card's meant to function is it's one or the other. And you're exactly right on that. I made a mistake. I reread it and I thought, no, actually you are correct. I still think it's a bit ambiguous is if you hit the ship and you would kill it and you give them a crit at the same time, maybe both would trigger at the same time. But certainly if you give them a crit and that extra damage card is what kills the ship, you would discard the card before you trigger the second paragraph. And you're exactly right on that. I made a mistake. Thank you for pointing it out.
Patrick Brown, also with regards to the same question, you probably won't need Predator for the Harpoon because you get to keep the target lock.
Again, exactly right. I was saying you could use dice modifiers and stuff to help you with the Harpoon missile, but the fact is you get to keep the target lock, so you probably won't need to do that. I missed that. I thought you did have to spend the target lock. I just read the card wrong. So thank you again for that, Patrick.
And the final question, also from Patrick Brown, is dude, pulse rate, shield, and ion discharges on Dace Bone Arm.
Yeah, he means the pulse ray shield. This is a long conversation I actually had with a couple of commenters about using the ion discharges on Dace Bonearm. Dace Bonearm, when a ship at range 1 to 2, I believe, takes a ion token, he can stress himself if he's not already stressed to give them a point of damage as well. So it's a bit of remote damage, which is kind of cool. And the ion pulse discharges can give a ship at range 1 an ion token if they so choose. I don't love this. I don't think it's enough to justify Dace Bonearm's ability. I think it's very light control that's very conditional and just not impactful enough on the game. And the fact of the matter is your opponent can still choose not to take the ion. However, you have weighted the choice. They may choose, I don't want to take the ion because I really don't want this ability to trigger. It's a cascade effect which might affect the way they choose. I'm still on the fence about this card, but it's an interesting way of thinking about it. There are definitely other upgrades and pilots that combo with this. I think the 4 Lom crew with the ion discharges might be an interesting combo to make. I'm still guessing at this point. I really want to playtest it at this point before we go any further and talk about it. I absolutely will playtest it because I'm very curious about a card that gives your opponent options. I'm wary of that because I know how much that empowers your opponent, but it could be a cool concept nonetheless.
And those were some of the questions that have come from our videos.
Yeah, I want to do way more of these. There's still a lot more I want to address. We might get to a stage where we make videos just on errors I made or just on build ideas. For the time being, the channel is still relatively small, so I can cover these in single videos. Might do one of these a week. We'll see how we go. But thank you for all the comments, guys. Keep them coming in. Keep all the ideas flowing. Keep all the hype going for these new games. And I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.
Bye.